You are listening to the Your Empty Nest Coach podcast with Coach Christine, episode number 14, What to Do Before Going to College. Now that the decision has been made, what should we do next? This podcast is for you, a mother who years ago walked away from a career to raise your child. Sure, you've been busy volunteering, carpools, maybe part-time work, and taking care of everyone. But your main gig? That has been your child. Now that they are in their later years of high school, the empty nest looms ahead for you and it is freaking you out. I've been there and I get it. Together, we'll turn our freaking out energy into freaking awesome energy. Hello, my empty nest friend. Super excited. This is my first episode with a guest for the entire episode. One full guest. My guest today is Anne Vaccaro Brady. Anne is the founder of Parents' Guide to the College Puzzle, a blog that helps families navigate the college admission process and freshman year experience. She is the mom of 2 college graduates, and her goal is to alleviate much of the stress parents experience when their children apply to college. Anne shared some fun facts about her with me. In her younger years, she was the advice columnist for the teenage magazine Sassy. She is a writer and has authored 3 young adult contemporary novels. Her 3rd one is currently on submission to agents, sending her really good vibes on that. Anne also currently works with high school seniors on their college applications and essays. Anne enjoys helping her clients shape their unique interests and talents into a compelling package to share with their prospective schools. Anne is here to share with you her list of most important things that you need to keep on your radar once your child has officially decided what college they will be calling home for the upcoming years. Now, if you're driving or are on the treadmill, don't worry. I have created a list for you with all of Anne's and a few of my recommendations. You may find this downloadable checklist in my show notes on my website, youremptynestcoach.com/P14. That's P for podcast and episode number 14, P14. So I'm going to turn this over to today's expert, Anne.
Thank you, Christine. Let's start with orientation. Number 1, I call this a family affair because at least one parent is usually required to attend. Most colleges schedule their sessions throughout late spring and summer. Because your student makes their class schedule during orientation, I suggest signing up for the earliest session that fits your family schedule. Remind your student, this is very important, to read their college emails because that's where they'll find any requirements and details on orientation, like that all-important online placement test they must take beforehand, which my son did not do until he arrived. Number 2, second guessing. It's perfectly normal for your teenager to wonder if they pick the right school right after you sent the check with the deposit. Whether they chose to go away or commute, they may doubt their decision. A lot of it is fear of the unknown. College is portrayed as that first step into adulthood, and that's scary. Be supportive. Remind your teen of the reasons why they chose this school and that they're ready for this. But this is not the time to share how much you're going to miss them and add to their anxiety.
Isn't that the truth? Oh my goodness. We had that. And my daughter she didn't have many college options because she went 4 years early. So there weren't many options. And they decided to allow the college to be co-ed. And it wasn't that way when she started the application process. So it turned into this huge, what am I doing? And we ended up, it was a little earlier in the process. So it wasn't March or April, but it was, I think, December, January when we came up on this. And we actually went and looked at local colleges for her to, and then she finally was like, yes, this is where I need to be. But we had that totally.
Yeah, it's very normal. Sometimes they have it after orientation. Once they're there, and that can happen also. We've had that one. But they all get themselves back on track and
they do
remember why they wanted to go there.
Yes, us moms need to keep our own emotions in check.
Yes.
Sure, because it's not a time to make them feel bad about leaving home.
No, you do not say, you're going to be so far away. What am I going to do without you? You keep that all to yourself.
That is true.
Be the adult in the room.
Right.
Number 3, you have to keep your senior focused. Final grades are reported to their college, so they really can't slack off. And if they are taking any AP and IB courses, those exams matter because they can receive that college credit for all their hard work. So again, they need to be focused.
Yes.
Number 4, check that those AP and IB scores are sent to the college. This is important for making their class schedule at orientation. You don't want to sign up for Calc A and B if you already took it in high school and received a score that should get you credit at this college. They can confirm or request their scores were sent through the College Board or their IB accounts online.
Yes. Do you have more on that?
No, unless you want to add.
Yeah. So what I want to add is my daughter had dual enrollment credits. And what we found is that even though the credits were transferred and they came through admission, they didn't automatically make it to the registrar's office. So we actually had to follow up, do that extra step. And it took, we didn't get it by September. Luckily, it didn't affect her gen eds, but it is something to be on top of, that not all colleges automatically do that. You would think they would, but they don't.
That's true. And even you might be able to check your student account before you go to orientation to see if they actually list anything there as well.
Yes.
Or bring if you have a printout of your scores or the dual enrollment papers, you might be able to bring those as well to show your counselor or your advisor who you're working with at orientation.
Yes. You know what? Looking back, I think that's what I would do. I would just send her with a copy of all of it.
Yes, it's true. I think that is the way to go, to have it confirmed. Yes. Or they at least know who to follow up with on the other end. Number 5 is moving off the wait list. If your senior was placed on a wait list, they should write a letter to that college stating why this is their top choice school and add any awards or achievements they've had since they originally applied. They should also place a deposit on their second choice school because you want to be sure they have a college to attend in the fall. They won't hear if they've been accepted off the wait list until after May 1st, which is National Decision Day. If they have, then they need to inform the school where they placed the deposit and other schools where they're on the wait list that they will not be attending those schools.
This is good. I feel like there could be a whole episode on wait lists.
Yeah. Number 6 is medical forms and other health matters. Colleges usually require your student has a physical and specific vaccinations before they come to campus. So schedule that physical and make sure the vaccinations are included sooner rather than later. You want all this taken care of before your child goes to college in August. And remember to bring the forms from the college to that appointment so that they get filled out in time.
Yes.
At that visit, your child should talk with their doctor about staying healthy at college and if they're on any prescription medications that they take regularly, whether they should stay on them or go off and why. And then you and your teen should make a plan about if you have prescription refills, how they're going to get those, and maybe if they need allergy shots, where they're going to get those on campus. So that's all taken care of in advance and they're not scrambling once they get there. You might also want to consider getting a healthcare proxy because if your student is over 18, they are considered an adult by the college and the medical community. And you don't have to be informed if they have a visit to the hospital, receive any medical treatment, any mental health services, or having any medical issues. But having the healthcare proxy can help if they do say, if you are called and they know that you have that information. Usually your student can give them, your information and say, you can call my parents. But some kids don't want their parents to know. So be aware that could happen. And then number 7 is finalize how to pay the college bill now. Confirm where the money's coming from. If you have a 529 plan, if you have savings, CDs, if grandma and grandpa are helping out, if your child has savings, any scholarships or loans, know what's available and how you're going to access it. If you or your student plans to take any federal or private loans, this is really important. Only borrow as much as you need. I always advise people to use loans as a last-ditch effort. You don't want to put yourselves in debt if you don't need to be. And then your teen may receive scholarships or grants from their college. They have to go online to accept those. If they don't press the little button that says they accept, they won't receive them. So that's very important. They can find that on their account and their billing site. And then if your student is receiving any scholarships from local organizations, keep on the organization to get that money because you want it to help pay the tuition bill. If it's coming June and July, you really need to be on top of them if the money has not already been sent to the college or if you have not received the check directly. And then check the college's website to learn how you actually pay the tuition bill. It's going to be online. It's going to either be, withdrawn from an account a checking or savings account, could be moved from a 529 account, could be a credit card. There are other options. And colleges also have monthly plans as well as semester plans. So become familiar with that now so that it's not a scramble in the end come August. Great. And that's what I have. So back to you, Christine.
That is great advice. And there's something Anne said earlier that I cannot stress enough is to have your child check their email. Because
yes.
I know in this day and age, my daughter does not check her email.
Yes.
It's not a normal thing. Also, something I've noticed is that a lot of students have their primary email is their school, like their high school, and their high school will block the emails coming from a college.
Oh,
so
that's interesting.
I have seen that. So make sure that you are getting all your emails. If you feel like you should be getting something from a college and you're not, you may want to give them a call and just see what email address they have and that it's going through. But that email is really important to check.
Yeah, I've heard some families actually set up a specific email for college emails that both the parent and the child can have access to.
That's what we did. It worked really well. Yeah, it was good. Because parents are checking it.
Yes.
They do know that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have 3 to add to Anne's wonderful list. My first is make a communication plan. And this sounds really formal, but it's not. And it comes from the fact that I have a lot of friends with their children in college that their child goes off to college and then they don't hear from them. They don't get a text. They don't get anything. And they're highly frustrated over the fact that they're not getting these texts. What happens is the parent has an idea of how their child should communicate with them, but that has not been communicated to the child. Yes. So especially if you're paying for this college, I think it's fair for you to say, hey, I need to know you're alive. Text me every week. Just say something, or, I need more than, hi, I'm good. Give me a little more detail. So whatever that is for you, I think it's really important to do ahead of time, and it will save everyone a headache at the end. Some families have group family texts, which is nice because
we did
siblings who aren't in school, you can all keep up. So I love that idea. Let me see. What was my
You should also check their social media accounts because that'll tell you if they got up that day and made it to class on time sometimes.
That is
you don't
that is
talk
true.
A little and just see if they like something or posted something, and that might give you an indication of how they're doing that day.
That is great.
I also have friends who schedule, like if they want to do phone calls, it was Sunday at 2 was their time, and so I had one who texted a lot and called a lot, and one who didn't, and so that was an interesting approach.
It is. Yeah. And you work it out for the child because they're all different. Luckily, Mayim will FaceTime and we get all caught up on everything, but I know everyone's child isn't like that.
Right. Yes.
So my next point or thing to do is get the school's calendar on your schedule. And most schools, you'll be able to find this on their website multiple years out. So you can find when the move-in day is, when the start of the semester, the end of the semester, the winter breaks, if there's an extra May term, all those things. So you can start to plan things like your vacations. If they're out of state, you need to think about travel arrangements, as well as doctor appointments, because if they come home, you're going to find your winter break is a lot of doctor appointments you're filling in.
Yes, you can find that. I think it's listed as the academic calendar. I think is what it's called. So if you can search the website in the little search box, and also keep in mind because my kids did have to fly home from college, and so we would do flights early. And after the freshman year, we learned that even though the holiday break is scheduled for the Wednesday before or December 15th or something, some professors will cancel class December 12th and 13th. So we've learned that sometimes it's okay to schedule it a little bit sooner if it fits our schedule or our price on point.
Is a good point.
So keep that in mind. So you might schedule something, or your students plan on coming home and they'll go, oh, I can actually be done 2 days early. So It's okay if they're getting a ride with a friend, but if they're flying, it's a little more complicated.
That is great advice. Yes. I'm usually picking mine up and I drive a long time. So I'm like, I'm sorry, you're stuck there until I can get there. But that is good. Okay. And my last thing is to make a fun to-do list and just think out 5 years from today and what are things that you wish you would have done now that you can do together, whether it's a hobby, whether it's like binge watching a movie, whether it's going to a museum you always said you would go to, but you never did. Just plan things like that to do before they go, because everything changes a little when they go to college. So it's not bad. It's just very different. So it's a good time to capture that. And I'd also recommend doing like date times for you and your partner. So like, go out with your daughter and then have your husband or partner just take them out and do something solo. I think that's really good time to make memories.
And my other piece to add to that is realize that just because your child's in college doesn't mean family vacations end. So many parents say, oh, my kid's in college, they're never going to want to go on vacation. Kids will always want to go on a free trip. So don't worry about it. They will come along generally.
That is great. It is awesome. Well, I love this list so much, and I wish I had it when we were at this point. It would have helped me tremendously.
Me too.
Yeah. So it's good you do this. Thank you.
Yes, my pleasure.
And since Anne is my first full episode guest, she gets to be the first person to answer my questions that every guest will get going forward. So, Anne, waffles or pancakes?
Pancakes with blueberries.
Nice. What is one item you couldn't live without and why?
My iPhone, because it carries everything. My music collection, my pictures, an easy way to communicate with my family. I can turn it off when I want to and not communicate with people when I don't want to. I feel like it holds your whole life. You have access to your news. The music thing is always important to me. It's amazing that I can carry that in one little container. So
that's awesome.
It's the iPhone.
Excellent. And number 4, you have an hour of alone time. No one will bother you. What is your go-to thing to do?
It's a choice usually to watch a show no one in my family is interested in or read a book.
Nice. Wonderful. So thank you again, Anne, for being here and for being my guinea pig. It's been such a pleasure.
It's been fun. Thanks so much for having me, Christine.
A special shout out to Twitter, as that is how I found Anne. You'll find Anne and her tremendously helpful tips on a huge amount of topics at parentsguidetothecollegepuzzle.com. You will also find her on Twitter at Anne V. Brady and Facebook at Anne Vaccaro Brady. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Okay, Anne with an E. Keep that. And both links are in my show notes. And don't forget to download our checklist, youremptynestcoach.com/P14. The questions I have for you in this episode are, number 1, do you have a question about what is next in the college process that you would like addressed in an upcoming episode? And number 2, do you have a tip to share with us before getting ready for college? Fly on over to our Empty Nest flock at youremptynestcoach.com/community to share your answers with the entire flock. You'll find everything you need to connect with the flock there. Feel free to also answer the question on your phone's voice memo app and email it to podcast@youremptynestcoach.com for potential inclusion in an upcoming episode. And I also have a new Facebook community just for this podcast. It's at Empty Nest Podcast is our group's name. It looks like this may be our flock's home base moving forward, so come on over and join in. Why should you join our flock? Well, the adjustment to not having your kiddos at home full time isn't always easy, but it sure can be a ton more fun with a flock of friends. I look forward to seeing you there, and it is free. As always, I provide content to make you think, my empty nest friend. My hope is that I am able to provide you with thoughts that impact your life in a positive way. In my next episode, I'm going to talk about being brave when your child picks a school that to you is just so far away. So let's talk about being that emotional adult in the room. Thank you so much for listening, my friend. And remember, you are amazing. A special shout out to Twitter, as that is how I can't say found today. It's the cold. Still listening? You may have noticed that I totally skipped a question for Anne. I went right from question 2 to question 4. My third question was, what is your favorite movie and why? So when I realized this just a few days before go live, I sent an email to Anne and asked for her response. And she said her favorite movie is It's a Wonderful Life because it reminds her that small things make a big difference. That is a great movie. If you've actually listened this far and you can tell me her favorite movie and you're willing to give me your address, I will write you a handwritten thank you note. So just reach out to me on social media in a message or at my email, Christine@youremptynestcoach.com.